again, this is Dr. Marty Sellers coming to you from the beautiful campus of Lincoln Memorial University here in Harrogate, Tennessee, in the county of Claiborne. Beautiful day today. I look outside, and I don't care how cloudy it is outside, it's a beautiful campus. If you've not been on this campus in a while, you need to come here. It's a glorious place, lots of growth, which I want to mention a few things about in a minute or so. But let me say this. Our program today, American Culture, Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, is brought to you from LMU 91.3, The Gap, and we're happy to be here. And let me turn this over to Gary just for a moment.
Support for this program is made possible by Lincoln Memorial University in Harrogate, Tennessee. Further information on academics, campus life, educational programs, admissions, financial aid, and much more, www.lmunet.edu.
Again, this is Dr. Marty Sellers, Dean of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. American culture, arts, humanities, social sciences, how is our American culture impacted on by the many fields within the School of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences? That's what our program and the many segments we have is really about. That's the heart of it, is how does history and English and social work and political science and law, how do these impact who we are as a people? And if you've been listening to these segments, you'll find and have found that the experts we've had, and I really mean experts as we have today, that have been on this program have just enlightened is too small of a word. I don't know what word to use, but have just in a very gigantic way illuminated all of us on how things work with regard to and develop within our culture. Today's program is about Abraham Lincoln and Founders Day at Lincoln Memorial University, and we're going to talk a good bit about law school. Abraham Lincoln, as you know, was a lawyer. We want to talk a bit about how that came about and how he did as a lawyer, perhaps, and a little bit of history there. We want to talk about law school education, the Duncan School of Law, which is located down in over in Knoxville. And Abraham Lincoln himself, his birthday is coming up on the 11th of October, right, Dr. Toomey?
That's correct, yes.
Is it the 11th?
I'm sorry, I was looking out the window at the beautiful LMU campus.
I caught him off guard purposely. He was starting to doze over here because of my boring rap. But no, we all know it's the 12th of February.
1809.
There it is, yes, sir. And keep these things in mind, because I'm going to come back to you. I want to ask you some historical things. Just want to let you all know that Lincoln Memorial University annually is asked to come to Washington on Lincoln's birthday and present a wreath at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. If you've never been to the Lincoln Memorial, it's just a ponderous event. I mean, it's huge and thoughtful, and I get goosebumps when I'm there before the very large statue of Lincoln, of course, and the many people coming to visit his monument. It's a beautiful sight, and every year we come. And I want to mention that for the last 4 years now, the Fine Arts Department in Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, Lincoln Memorial University, has been asked to present or to perform music for the event the evening before, the Black Tie Dinner, and also at the War Memorial. At the Lincoln Memorial, the morning of the event. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning. And I have to tell you, the last times I've been there, it has been so cold, and I felt so bad for the young ladies who are up there singing. We typically have 3 or 4 students from Lincoln Memorial here, from Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, Fine Arts Department, and they are so cold. I don't know how they do it. As their breath is coming out, icicles are coming out, and I'm sitting in the audience freezing to death. Hopefully it won't be that way this time. The temperature's supposed to be a little bit better. And Dr. Young Kim, who's Director of Fine Arts and Communication, will be hosting that event at the memorial. And I just look forward to it. If any of you have an opportunity to be there, please do. It's going to be a wonderful event. But anyway, today's program is Abraham Lincoln, Founders Day, Law School, and a number of issues surrounding those ideas. We have guests with us, Dr. Michael Toomey, Professor of History and Assistant Dean of the School of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. We have Randy Matthews, who's with us, Associate Dean of Enrollment Services of the Duncan School of Law. When I email Randy, I call him Randy Travis, but Randy Travis is not in the building. So Randy Matthews, pardon me from my incorrectness there for a time or two. Dr. John Grove, Assistant Professor of Political Science here in the School of Arts, Humanities, Social Sciences. And we also have on the phone Rick Stowe, who is our Director of Student Life at Lincoln Memorial. Rick, are you there?
Yes, sir, right here.
Very good, Rick. Let me come back to these experts in a few minutes and let them self-introduce a bit more. I also want to mention John Hobbs is with us. He's our freshman workforce here at the studio, as well as Gary Daniels, who's our producer. But I want to say a few things about Lincoln Memorial just in general. We have a lot of schools, degrees, programs that you may or may not be aware of. Let me just go down the list of schools, and if you listen closely to this list, it's just amazing to me. I came here in 2002, and haven't been fired yet, but I came here in 2002. And when I came here in 2002, there were two schools, the undergraduate school and the graduate school. And the graduate school had two programs. They had a baccalaureate program, post-baccalaureate program, and then they had the EDS program also. Didn't have a master's and did not have a doctoral. But since then, now we've developed many schools, and when I listen to this list, when I recite this, I'm just continuously amazed. Allied Health Sciences, which includes athletic training, medical lab sciences as well, the School of Business, a lot of new programs in that school, including data analytics, Carter Moyers School of Education, which has an EDD program, as you know, or hopefully you know, the School of Math and Sciences, which has many programs, many graduate programs, the DeBusk College of Osteopathic Medicine, which also includes physician assistant and a new Doctor of Medical Sciences program, the Duncan School of Law, and we have Randy Matthews here representing them. Also a new dean as of last year, the Honorable Judge Gary Wade, who sat on our Supreme Court in Tennessee, the College of Veterinary Medicine, the newest school, and then of course Paul V. Hamilton School of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. And as Gary Daniels knows, I could talk for 2 or 3 hours just about the school. I have a big bias, right? Working there as a political scientist myself. We have 10 majors: art, history, music, media communication, philosophy, religion, social work, psychology, political science, criminal justice, English with a new BFA program. Also, we have 2 graduate programs. One is a Master of Public Administration and also a Master of Science of Criminal Justice. And then there are just lists and lists of minors, general education courses that are new to us, a program known as Arts in the Gap, AITG. If you've not heard Steve Gully's performance in Cumberland Gap, the small town of Cumberland Gap, historical town of Cumberland Gap, I should say, you need to go out and see Steve Gully. His performances are scheduled and they are on the web. Either go to the Arts in the Gap website or his homepage just look up through Google, look up Steve Gully, and you'll find him and his schedule. He is a internationally famed bluegrass, I guess is the best way of putting it, guitarist, and has a new, a couple of years now, new Pinnacle band that they just absolutely, I bought one of their CDs about a month ago, and I use it when I go out in the garage and work out. I'm out in the garage lifting those weights, listening to Steve Gully sing, and I don't know if he knows that. He knows it now. Helps me. Somehow his timing is with my 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And we have an honors scholars program. But let me mention this. In addition to all the degrees we have, and I don't want to go on and on about this too long, but we have more than 16 master's degree programs, and more than 8 terminal degree programs, including a PhD in clinical anatomy. These are things for us here in Harrogate and across our region and across the state in the Appalachians to be proud of, that a school like ours, and we're going to talk about the history here of how Lincoln became associated, how this school became associated and has Lincoln's name. Something to be very, very proud of. It started basically from dirt up, and here we are, a monument of success and continued growth. I do want to say, by way of growth, that we're developing a couple of new programs. One of them is the Master of Public Health, which will be located with Beth Thompson, Dean of Allied Health Sciences. We're also developing a master's degree in occupational therapy. We're looking closely and developing a master's degree in physical therapy. And, of course, most of you know our nursing program is headed down to Tampa, Florida. So currently we have 11 extended sites across Tennessee, Virginia, and Kentucky, and now we're going to branch out and go to Florida. But let me say this, we are really worldwide. This program not only is locally on FM 91.3, but also we are streamed worldwide. So we got folks in China, in Indonesia, on a freighter out in the Black Sea, Army folks that are based and stationed elsewhere in Afghanistan and elsewhere, listening to this program, and they're wondering why this dean is droning on about this stuff. But it's just amazing stuff to me. I can't talk more about it. I could talk more about it, but I need to slow down here and have our experts introduce themselves. One other thing I do want to mention, though, if you're around the area or going online, take a look at what's happening to our sports programs. Currently, we have over 10 different sporting programs for women and men, and we are developing what's called the Valley of Sports. I love that term, Valley of Sports, right? Down kind of west, south, and then west of the campus. And if you have a chance to drive down what we think of as 63, which then eventually becomes Old 63 and 63, but if you head down Route 63, you just go for about a mile, and you'll see so much happening. Ball fields being created. There's some gymnasiums being developed for the volleyball folks. And if you were to go a little further down 63 and turn left, and go over to the bowling lanes, you'll find out that we have a new, I want to say, international bowling program, because we have two folks who are on that bowling team that are not from the United States. It's amazing. I'm probably giving out a secret I shouldn't, and then all the wins will be taken off from the NCAA. But we have a new bowling program. A lot going on under the auspice, under the responsibility of Matt Green, who is as of 2 years ago, athletic director here. All right, so much to say about so many things going on here at Lincoln Memorial University and with the arts and humanities and social sciences programs. Let me ask our visitors here in the sound booth, in the radio booth, to introduce themselves, say a little bit about themselves, and maybe we'll start with Dr. Toomey, since he's the assistant dean. He ranks high on the list, or maybe I should say low on the list, but he's sitting right next to me. Dr. Toomey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I teach history here at Lincoln Memorial University. This is I'm in my ninth year here on campus. I also teach the Introduction to the Life and Legacy of Abraham Lincoln, at least 4 sections of that every semester. It's probably what I spend most of my time doing. Right now I'm grading midterms for that course, but I enjoy the course. It's a great way to introduce students in their first semester, usually their first semester of their first year on campus, to the person for whom this campus is dedicated and named.
And what's the core learning that comes out of the Lincoln classes?
Well, it's directly related to our mission. Our mission statement very clearly says we're going to emphasize the life and legacy of Abraham Lincoln. So this is how we do it. It really comes in 2 parts. The Lincoln 100 course is pretty much straight biography. We focus on Lincoln, his life, his family, and try and understand something about how that became the legacy that it has. Then Lincoln 300, students taking their junior year, we focus on the life of Lincoln as it is understood through his citizenship, through his focus on civic responsibility, and trying to help them understand what their role will be once they leave LMU. They're going to be college graduates, go back home, and something's going to be expected of them. They're supposed to be a part of their community and give something back, and that's the model Lincoln's given.
I have to give you a compliment, Dr. Toomey. I had a faculty member come in the office the other day and said he listens to the program, and whenever Dr. Michael Toomey is on the program, he is so clear and so his speaking voice is clear, and also he's consistent about what he says. And he went on and on about Dr. Toomey, and I was slinking down in my chair thinking, okay, I must be the redheaded stepchild, and I hope I'm not embarrassing anybody.
Well, just have him come to my 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock a.m. class, and you'll see me at my worst.
I think he was in your class. No, it's a faculty member, not a student. But thank you, Dr. Toomey, for being here. And to your left is Dr. John Grove, who has been, this is his second year, going on hopefully his third year next year, assistant professor of political science. You want to say a few things?
Sure. Like Dr. Souther said, I'm an assistant professor of political science. I got my PhD and master's degree at Northern Illinois University. I got a bachelor's degree at Christopher Newport University in Newport News, Virginia. Here at LMU, I teach kind of across the spectrum in political science, all areas of political science, or most areas, I guess. And I also serve as the advisor to our pre-law society here. So.
And as I understand it, your wife is a student here.
My wife is recently now a student here in the School of Nursing, getting her nurse practitioner degree.
And what were her grades last semester? No,
she wasn't here last semester.
She was here, but she wasn't in class. Well, congratulations to her. I'm sure she'll make a fine MSN. It's in fact, our MSN program is on the grow. As you know, in the Appalachian region, particularly Central Appalachia, we are lacking medical practitioners in many of our rural areas. And having an MSN program provides medical practitioners for those areas where medical doctors either won't or can't go for a number of reasons. But that's why we have a medical program here as well. Is we're trying as best we can to provide that need that's here in the Central Appalachian region. Next to Dr. Grove is our good friend from Knoxville, Randy Matthews. Excuse me. He's Associate Dean of Enrollment Services. And tell us a bit about yourself, Randy.
Well, I joined LMU about 4 years ago. I came from a publishing background, working for a publishing company, preparing law students for the bar exam. Had that job after law school. I was recruited by the company and rose up from being a student rep all the way to the top of the company, and was fortunate enough to be able to come to work here at the university.
Mm-hmm. Did you say what school you were?
No, I attended for my undergraduate career. I went to Spring Hill College in Mobile, Alabama. It's a little Jesuit college of about 1,000 students, and then went on, worked in the governor's office actually for about 6 months in Montgomery, Alabama, and then went on to law school at Cumberland and picked up my MBA also, my Master of Business Administration at the University of Alabama, Birmingham.
Excellent. I love Alabama and the places. Where's Spring Hill located?
It's in Mobile, Alabama.
It's in Mobile, yeah. That's
down on the coast.
Southwest.
Down on the coast.
And Montgomery, beautiful town. Love Montgomery. Been there a few times and just took that river boat and just go down the river.
Sure.
And just had a lot of good times there. And we also have sitting here John Hobbs. I mentioned earlier. I'm not going to let him say who he is because he's too far away from the microphone to speak. And then certainly we have Gary Daniels, who presses all the buttons and runs the show. We also have, I call him Jimmy Rick because I don't even know what to call him because he has several different names, but I call him Rick Stowe, Director of Student Life. Rick, you still there? You want to say a few things about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I've been at Lincoln Memorial University, working here since 2009. Actually started off as the coordinator of the High Adventure Series, and that was a new program, then moved into student life. So the entire time I've been in student services of some kind. Also Rail Splitter alma mater. I'm currently working on my EDD and a couple other degrees before that.
Now, Rick, you're the responsible official for Founders Day, am I right?
That's correct.
Now, we're sitting around this table, and I'll guarantee you, probably these two guys right here, Gary and John, probably know. I have no idea. Tell us about Founders Day, or enlighten us, clarify for us what Founders Day is.
Sure. Yeah, so Founders Day has been an LMU tradition for a number of decades now. Matter of fact, keep a collection of old yearbooks here in my office going back into the 70s and some older, and there's Founders Day events in those. So essentially, it's a field day type event, friendly competitions, some silly games, things like that, just to celebrate Abraham Lincoln's birthday, obviously our founder, and just bring the community together. We often have teams that are based around just groups of friends, clubs, organizations, just kind of how they want to organize. And we have different faculty and staff members volunteer to come out to be judges and just officials for those competitions. And actually, before those games get started, as you all know, we have a faculty staff versus student basketball game to start the festivities out. That all goes on during actual Founders Day at Mary Miller Gymnasium. We also have usually have a cake and like a special meal in the cafeteria. We collaborate with food services on that. And then there's some other kind of event just come together. This year we're going to do a game night that has a coffee and hot chocolate bar, actually on Lincoln's birthday. So yeah, we just try to make our students aware of Lincoln's birthday and give them a reason to get involved in those events.
Is there an age range for that basketball game? Because
No.
Dr. Toomey's sitting here, and he's tall, and he would sure like to be in that game.
I can put his name down right now. I have the list in front of me.
Yeah, do you have to be able to dribble the basketball? Because that might rule.
His shot.
That might rule me out.
Yeah.
You see how consistent he is on the radio? That faculty member was correct. He's consistently negative about basketball. And it's not going to happen, Rick. Not going to happen. Are there any other traditions like it just occurs to me, a freshman coming on this first year, they may not know a lot about Lincoln. They haven't been in Lincoln 100 yet, which is part of the reason we have the two Lincoln mission courses, is so that students coming in here, all of us heard of Abe Lincoln. We know a little bit about him, but we don't know a whole lot. Any other traditions besides the games and the fun that everybody has and like that?
No, not specifically just there on Founders Day, except for what I added, that we always had like a birthday cake for Lincoln in the cafeteria sometime around the Founders Day game.
Yeah.
Now, in the fall, we always partner with student government, and the last couple of years with the governor's office to do a voter registration, just to talk about civic duty and obviously the connections there with Abraham Lincoln, and actually receive recognition from the Secretary of State of Tennessee for our efforts in registering college voters.
That's wonderful. I know we've registered quite a few. That was a good opportunity for students to speak their mind. As you know, and I'll speak in front of our expert political scientist, John Grove here, it's the youth that tend to vote less and the older folks tend to vote more. And if we can get the youth to come out in more numbers, I think that would facilitate a better understanding of our government and a better tie into and a buy-in, if you will, to how government operates. And we certainly need, in this world that we're in, it's fast-paced, many things are happening, changes from Democrats to Republicans at the national level, lots of changes at the state level, lots of policies coming out. We certainly need our youth to be more aware and convicted to be participating in the political system as we understand it. I'm going to continue on here and ask a few questions about Lincoln and Lincoln's law background. And Rick, you can stay on the phone if you want. It's up to you. You can chime in once in a while. We have some, with Dr. Toomey's consistency that I've heard so much about, we have a lot of talkers here, Rick. So if you'll have to really jump out. Yeah. So let's talk about Lincoln and the law a bit. How did Lincoln get involved? This may be a Dr. Toomey question more than anything. How did Lincoln get involved with law? How did that come about?
Well, we aren't sure exactly when he first became interested in law, but when he first left his father's farm and moved to New Salem, he spent a lot of time hanging around the circuit court just because he seemed to enjoy it. Actually volunteered for jury duty, which is something that is as unheard of then as it is now. But he clearly seemed to enjoy it, but I believe he thought his education, or more specifically his lack of education, would prevent him from being an effective lawyer. When he was first elected to the state legislature, he knew someone there, John Todd Stewart, who convinced him that it was possible for him to become a lawyer. But the way it was done in those days was not necessarily to attend law school. There were very, very few law schools in the country, and especially on the frontier, quasi-frontier, where he was. The only way to become a lawyer was to find some established lawyer who would let you be a clerk in their office, and you would study the law as a clerk. And whenever that lawyer thought you were ready, you'd get an examination before the state superior court, and if you passed it, you were a lawyer. That's the route he took. So it took him about 2 years, from 1834 until 1836. And he was admitted to practice law, and John Todd Stewart gave him a position as a partner in his law firm. He moved to Springfield and set out on that new career.
So, if I understand you correctly, he was not an undergraduate of some college and then went on to a prestigious law school.
Just the opposite. He had perhaps as much as 1 year of formal education, and that all would have been at the great grammar school level. No formal education at all. He taught himself how to read, how to be an effective writer. He taught himself how to read for he taught himself everything. He taught himself how to be a lawyer. Taught himself earlier how to be a surveyor. He had no problems learning. But as far as formal education, no, he was not a graduate of anything that we know of.
Let me ask you, I'm not sure if you would know this, but I picture this guy in Kentucky splitting rails. I mean, he's virtually out there in the yard cutting things and tending to animals and so on. Is there anything in the records historically? There was some turning point where he became, a reader of the Bible, let's say, his mother maybe. Is there anything like that?
There is sort of. His father was a diehard farmer and believed that when Lincoln came into his life as a strapping Lincoln was big for his age from almost the very first, and his father, I'm sure, thought that was just a wonderful gift from God, that he had a son who was going to grow up to be a physical specimen. And so he was determined that Lincoln be a farmer, but almost immediately Lincoln discovered an affinity for learning, that he liked to read, he liked to study, he liked to talk about what he'd read and studied about, and he was the only one in the entire community that was like that. He was unusual and unhappy, as given that tendency. He just simply did not want to be a farmer. So there was a problem between him and his father. His father remarried, and it was that second wife, a woman by the name of Sarah Bush Johnston, who actually encouraged Lincoln that whatever your father has told you you can or cannot do, you can always find time on your own to read and learn and continue to develop your intellect. She herself was barely literate, but even so, she encouraged him. And so if there was a point when he decides, despite what my upbringing would seem to suggest, I'm going to continue on into a different direction, it would be then.
So he did not go to Princeton Law or Vanderbilt. And I was going to ask Randy, how did this come about? And if you have some sense of this, law schools all of a sudden, it's not all of a sudden, but over time, now we have very high-level, prestigious. Do you have any sense of where that came from?
Well, I think it obviously goes back to the English history and the court system, but in the United States, most of the schools started on the East Coast because that's where the people were. And slowly but surely they've gone across the United States, and really because of the development of states, have come specialists for their particular state. And so, again, we've come together as a union. So I think that's one of the things but I think various schools really focus on different things. You have very highly regarded schools or well-established schools such as Harvard, Yale, and eventually Stanford out on the West Coast. But I think that there are a number of law schools throughout the United States that really specialize on a particular brand or a mission, if it will. And I think that's really where our law school fits in, because there was a need in this particular region to serve the underserved in this region, which again is part of our university mission. So we wanted to make sure to get that established.
And I think it's probably fair to say that the field of law has become so complicated over the years that it required not an undergraduate degree or no degree, but someone to go through a very formal system of courses to recognize. I mean, there's everything. You know more about this than I do. Tax law to environmental law to immigration law. There's so much out there. We're going to take a break here. Gary's waving at me, so that means if I don't stop talking, he's going to be upset. So, Gary, we'll take a little break. Thank you. Hello again, this is Dr. Martin Sellers, Dean of the School of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, coming to you live as it can be. Of course, the rebroadcast won't be live, but this is 91.3 FM, The Gap.
Support for this program is made possible by Lincoln Memorial University in Harrogate, Tennessee. Further information on academics, campus life, educational programs, admissions, financial aid, and much more, www.lmunet.edu.
Let me mention again, we have our guests with us. Program today is about Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, Founders Day, law school, law education. Kind of put it all together. The theme behind or underlying all of our discussion today in this segment is Abraham Lincoln. And here we are at Lincoln Memorial University. What a better topic than this. And I kind of have a hidden agenda, too. I want to mention something about an upcoming event that we're going to have here that I'll mention here. It's the Celebration of Law Day on the 16th of February in the Math and Natural Sciences building at 2:30. We're going to have a wonderful opportunity. If any of you are listening and wanting to come up and visit, certainly do so. We will have a number of law representatives, I'll put it that way, instructors and some district attorneys and judges and so on, giving our students an opportunity to ask them direct questions about law and what it's all about. If Abraham Lincoln were alive, we'd have him sitting at that table. He'd be more than willing. He loved talking about his legal background and the cases that he was involved in. Well, let me ask these folks to let me just mention who we have around the table. Dr. Michael Toomey, Professor of History and Assistant Dean of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences is with us. Randy Matthews, Associate Dean, Enrollment Services of Duncan School of Law. Dr. John Grove, Assistant Professor of Political Science, also in Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. And on the phone, we have Rick Stowe, Director of Student Life at Lincoln Memorial University. Rick, you're still with us, right?
Sure am.
Rick, still there? Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about Lincoln, and I wanted to ask Dr. Toomey that about courses. I'm sorry, about some of the lawsuits that Lincoln participated in. Can you give us a little bit of background on some of those?
Sure. He started off as junior partner in a couple of law firms, and as such, he was the one responsible for writing the circuit, which was, of course, in those days, the circuit court really was the circuit court. It moved around the state, and lawyers of all sorts would follow the court and try to find cases and slap those cases together literally overnight in some instances. It was long, hard work on the road, staying in horrible taverns and getting horrible food and getting somewhere $2 to $3 a case. Didn't pay all that well. But Lincoln loved it. He continued to do it long after it was not necessary for him to be doing that. By the time he comes back from Congress, and between that period and the time he goes off to be president, he establishes himself, though, as one of the highest paid corporate lawyers in the country, certainly the highest paid corporate lawyer in Illinois. He is making really good money at that point. He's trying cases for the McCormick Reaper Company, for the Illinois Central Railroad. At that time, he actually saved them millions of dollars worth of taxes. They would have had they were being sued by a county to pay taxes for the railroad running through that county. Had that county won, it would have, every county in Illinois and all the way down to New Orleans probably would have done the same thing. So he took that case and won, and saved Illinois Central millions of dollars in taxes. And so he presented them with a bill for $2,500, which was an unheard of sum in those days. They balked at it, refused to pay it because they thought it was too high. So he took them to court and sent them a new bill for $5,000, which he ultimately got. So he knows how to play hardball. He's a very good lawyer.
Very good politician. Very good politician. I was going to ask, with regard to Supreme Court discussion we had on the break, he argued before the state Supreme Court. And I wanted to ask Dr. Grove, we just had a Supreme Court justice appointed at the national level, and certainly, Randy, you can chime in on any of us can talk about this. How important is a choice of Supreme Court justice? How important is that?
It's extremely important. It's often seen as one of the most permanent ways that a president can influence American politics, because our Supreme Court justices, at least at the national level and at many states as well, Supreme Court justices are appointed for essentially life terms. So the choice that a president makes in selecting a Supreme Court justice can last for decades after that president is out of office. Mm-hmm. So given the extremely influential role the Supreme Court has in our political system, being able to choose somebody that generally reflects your outlook on politics, your understanding of how to interpret the Constitution, how to interpret statute law, is an incredible opportunity that really rivals any other power that the president has when it comes to its permanence and longevity.
Is it safe to say that the Supreme Court is an advocate for the minority? Is that a fair statement?
In some cases, sure. Ideally, the Supreme Court is supposed to decide the cases on the merits of the law that's applicable. So sometimes that might be allowing the majority through their representatives in Congress to pass a law, and sometimes that might be standing up to protect the rights of the minority against laws that are passed in Congress. But certainly the ability of the Supreme Court to strike down laws that are deemed to be unconstitutional, a power that's called judicial review, that is one of the most important tools in our political system that does protect the rights of the minority against the majority.
So, just a little bit of history here. General O.O. Howard was here, came to visit the Myers family in Cumberland Gap at one point. They said, gee, it would be wonderful if we had a college here. The Four Seasons Hotel was going south, if you will. And O.O. Howard, General Howard said, well, I do recall a promise made to our Commander-in-Chief, Abraham Lincoln, about doing something for those folks. Is there a little more to that, Dr. Toomey?
No, that pretty much sums it up. Lincoln had called Howard into his office as Howard was leaving to go south and take part in a different campaign. Mm-hmm. And as they looked at a map, Lincoln said to Howard, if we survive this war, we've got to do something for these people. And he pointed to East Tennessee on the map. Howard knew exactly what he meant, because East Tennessee had been loyal during the Civil War as opposed to the rest of Tennessee. Tennessee seceded and joined the Confederacy, that's true, but that was exclusively because of the votes in Middle and Western Tennessee. East Tennessee was taken out of the Union kicking and screaming all the way. Mm-hmm. They remained loyal, and they paid for that loyalty. They suffered. Their property was confiscated. Their homes were sometimes burned and destroyed. Sometimes they were killed, beaten, imprisoned. Mm-hmm. It was tough, and so Lincoln wanted to reward the people of East Tennessee. But that's really where he left it. He didn't tell Howard what he had in mind, assuming he even had anything in mind. It was when Howard heard the folks around here saying, "Gee, we'd like to have a college. We need one," that the light went on over his head. Mm-hmm. And he pursued the idea after that.
Because he was the force, O.O. Howard, behind the development of Howard University in Washington,
and several other schools around the country.
Mm-hmm. Very significant. And Randy, so it took us more than 100 years to get a law school. What is that the case? And how did that come about?
Well, I think again, with the mission of the university to serve this particular region, also. With regard to graduate education, as you alluded to earlier, LMU is new to graduate education as far as extending about 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. So in 2006, I think the vision began that we really wanted to have a law school. It was certainly appropriate for a school named after Abraham Lincoln, or in his memorial, or his memory, to have a law school. So they decided to put it in Knoxville because that's where the federal courts are located for this particular region. and gave our students access. They opened the doors in 2009 as a part-time night program to give working folks a chance to go to law school. And over time, we added a full-time program the next year, and that was during the day. And that's pretty much how we ended up in Knoxville, and continue to flourish.
The type of law we teach at Duncan School. And by the way, why is it called Duncan School of Law? You have a little history on that?
It's named after our Congressman Jimmy Duncan, and kind of homage to all the service that he and his family has given to the region. And so that's really an opportunity for us to celebrate him and celebrate the family, and recognize what they've done for not only the Knoxville area, but this particular part of the world, including LMU.
Duncans are really good people, as you have, and all of us around the table have met them on occasion. And he's Representative Duncan has been here to speak a number of times, and we appreciate all that he does. But regarding the kind of learning that goes on, are we different in any way than, let's say, I don't know, what do we have? Five law schools in six law schools in Tennessee. I know we're significantly different than Vanderbilt. I mean, that's sure. And UT is broader, deeper. How are we different?
Well, we're new. I think, and our approach is new, and it reflects that. So we're not kind of old and stodgy and having to follow the traditions that most law schools have followed, because they've always done it that way. Yeah. I think we looked at legal education and really fulfilling the mission of the university. What could we do in terms of an education to make sure students had a broad spectrum of choices, but we also wanted to make sure that they pass the bar exam so they can go back to these smaller and underserved areas. And so that's really made a huge difference for our students. All of their bar-tested topics are required their first 2 years. They're not given the opportunities for electives until their third year. And the reason we do that is we want to make sure that any preconceived notions that you have coming in, you have the opportunity to get exposure to other areas of law that may interest you.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering too. One of the I think of this as an impediment myself. One of the things one has to do is take the LSAT. I think of it as an impediment because I took it, and I remember how I left that room. It was at Princeton University, as a matter of fact. I went up, took the test, and I came outside, and I had a parking ticket on my motorcycle. I'll never forget that. And I was so mad. I said, if this is what law is all about, I'm out of here. I'm not going to. Plus, I had to pay for it. So,
sure.
What's the LSAT about? How do we do that?
It's the law school admission test, is what LSAT stands for, and basically it's offered 4 times a year, and it's really the objective entrance exam for any law school, and it besides considering where you go to college and how well you did, they also use that as kind of an aptitude test. And it really doesn't have anything to do with the knowledge that you have. It really, how do you think logically? And so there's several parts to the exam that you have, and it's a timed exam, so it's a national standardized test. And there's a distribution of scores. And for us, we're not trying to compete with Vanderbilt. We're not trying to compete with the University of Tennessee. We know who we are, and we want to make sure that we serve this region well. So we'll admit students that will go back to smaller and underserved areas.
Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a minute. Hello, this is Dr. Martin Sellers coming to you again in our segment today for our program, American Culture. It's a segment about Abraham Lincoln, law, and some of his history, some of the history surrounding Lincoln and Abraham Lincoln and his relationship to Lincoln Memorial University. We've had some good discussion here and some good history about law and the law school that we have, Duncan School of Law, located in Knoxville, and how prestigious it's becoming. Enrollment is increasing. It's a new law school. We serve the Appalachian region, and we're doing a fine job there. Lots of programs at the law school that we're very happy to have, and lots of events. And if you're interested in what goes on at the law school, please, by all means, check out their webpage. which is part of the Lincoln Memorial University web pages and also a standalone web page. One of the events coming up, Travis, is a celebration of law. You want to say something about that?
That will give the opportunity. The Celebration of Law really is about educating folks that you can do more than just go to the courthouse. There's a variety of different professions that lend itself to a law degree, actually even sales. So something that you wouldn't even think about related to the law. So there's lots of opportunities and lots of different career choices that people can make. And I just think people are not truly aware of it. And so if they can become educated about it and talk to people, how did you become a judge? Understanding kind of the path is always kind of twisted to get to a particular inroad. I think if they can ask questions themselves and learn from themselves, I think hopefully that will encourage folks to go and pursue a career in law.
So would you say, and I asked Dr. Grove about this and his input on this too, is political science the only way to go to law school?
It's not the only way, although it is a good way. But, no, there are a lot of different majors, and a lot of ones that students sometimes don't put the pieces together to think that a major could be related to law school. But political science is certainly a common one. I remember hearing statistics a long time ago that said philosophy majors tend to get the best LSAT scores. I don't know if that's still accurate, but that's one that a lot of people don't necessarily connect the dots. History is a common one. But really, I think, and maybe I can get backed up, that almost any major, especially depending on what area of law you might want to be going into, can be relevant. Sciences and certainly business. Lots of ones that a lot of times undergraduate students don't necessarily think of.
Actually, we have a variety of at our law school, but there are no set majors that you have to go to law school. So we have an art major who actually graduated from LMU. She's near the top of the class. Actually, she's right at the top of the class.
Amazing.
We also have somebody who has a PhD in biochemical engineering who works out at Oak Ridge that is at our law school. So, I mean, you can do just about anything with a law degree, and so they're advancing their careers.
So broad range of backgrounds and broad range of interest. So I get this question as all of us do in history, English, political science, and so on, criminal justice, and I tell students that the way I think about this is if you're attracted into someone who's really into writing really well and you love writing and so on, you're attracted into English, and then you decide you want to pursue law, well, you'll go through that route. Or if you're attracted into, I have students in a political science class that I'm teaching, they are just diehard political science people. They know more about this last presidential election than I'll ever know. They read it all, they know it all. Well, they think they know it all, they read it all. Maybe they don't read it all, but and they would say, well, the only way to go to law school is to go through political science, because that's how. So, but it is a career that I think it requires a lot of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of comprehension of those areas. Am I right?
You're right, and that's probably the most surprising aspect is there is so much reading, and even if you don't like to read, it's just kind of it's part of the process. Also, legal writing is vastly different than writing for English composition or the classics. So it's very formulaic and repetitive in style, and you just have to. It's the analogies I draw with the first year students are really, it's like a golf swing. If you've ever, it looks easy on TV, just hit the little white ball, but you have to follow through every single time. And another analogy would be long division in math. You have to show your work every single step to reach your conclusion. The answer is not nearly as important as the process you use to get to the answer.
We all have people who are interested in law, either lawyers or in one facet of the law or another that we're related to or that we have friends of and so on. And I have a brother who has been an attorney for many years in Iowa, and I have a son-in-law who is a lawyer from UT graduate. And these are just they're so smart. I hate to talk to either of them. They're so smart, and they know so much about everything. But we have a pre-law society, as I understand it. What is the pre-law society about, John?
Sure. I'm the advisor for our pre-law society here. It's fairly new, but a very active and involved group of students. And basically the role of the pre-law society is really just to serve any LMU undergraduate students who are interested in going to law school. So there are a lot of programs that are that are directed towards those students. I'm participating in the Celebration of Law event next week. Last semester, they did a practice LSAT test together. So it's an opportunity for students who have a similar goal to connect with one another, to talk to one another, study together, prepare for the LSAT together. They just recently toured the Duncan School of Law just this past Friday, and they're planning to tour other law schools as well. And also, they bring some guest speakers to campus as well. The plan is to bring some guest speakers, people from the area, people from our law school, practicing attorneys, to come and talk to these students and give them kind of a regular, what this Celebration of Law event does one day. The hope is that this pre-law society can really give that opportunity to students on a regular basis to kind of interact with people that can answer their questions about the field of law.
So, Rick Stowe, I know you're still hanging on back there on your cell phone. Do you get a lot of questions? What do you tell students? You must get questions from students in your capacity with student services about law school or going to law school, or maybe you've attended SGA. Do you get what kinds of things do you get asked about, and how do you respond?
Well, most of those actually comes into our UAC 100 courses. I teach one of those, and in those we cover that it's very important for our students to realize that while good grades, academic performance is very important for application to graduate professional schools, but involvement in some other facets of their college career are really important as well. So we always encourage them, to get involved, regardless of the major, with whatever academic club. So, if they're interested in going to law or law school, and maybe they're not even sure if they are, we would direct them to Dr. Grove's organization there just to get an idea of what's been involved, and also to be around their peers that are interested in that career as well.
It sounds like we have, as far as I know, I've heard that we have a fairly active SGA this year. I know some of the students, I won't name them, but I know a couple of students who are in there, and they report to me about this, and they're very, very active. I'll just leave it at that. Energetic and active. And I appreciate the connection we make. Student government is a governing body, and we make that connection. Maybe we don't do it often enough. That governance is it has a legal foundation through our, first and foremost, our Constitution, as it ripples down through states, through counties, through governing bodies, and certainly documents like the bylaws that institutions have, like our SGA, replicate some of that. So it's just being an SGA is a very important support for those who are interested in law and legislation and legal processes. And,
I just wanted to know, every year we actually have a group of students that are normally focused around SGA that attend the Tennessee Intercollegiate State Legislature, which is sort of a mock legislator environment, and they're always very excited to be involved with that. And here on campus, they introduce bills that go before the Board of Trustees, and it pretty much can be anything from facilities to institutional policy, just whatever they want to express their voice on.
So, Dr. Grove, let me ask you, or anyone, I guess, Abraham Lincoln, law, politics. What would you say Abraham Lincoln brought to to our understanding of law, our how we operate law, the law field? What would you, and Dr. Toomey, you may want to jump in on this. What do you think he brought? Did the field of law change because of him? You see what I mean?
Well, I could speak a little bit more to politics more generally, right? And then kind of the assessment of American government and politics and the principles of American government, not necessarily the field of law, but...
or even like American political thought.
Sure, yeah. Lincoln is usually seen as a kind of transformative figure, in part, of course, because he presided over the time of the Civil War, which was, of course, an extremely tumultuous time in American history. But Lincoln really contributed to kind of the way we see America and the way we see political ideas and principles. Was he very vigorously kind of rehabilitated and kind of refurbished the principles of the Declaration of Independence. One of the regular themes in Lincoln's political rhetoric was the use of the Declaration of Independence. Right? He generally argued that, for instance, the Constitution, right, could only be properly understood if it was understood through the principles that are in that famous paragraph of the Declaration of Independence. And importantly, he was one of the first really prominent statesmen to use those principles in a direct attack on slavery. That we'd always kind of lived with this tension of these kind of principles of all men are created equal, of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We lived with the tension of that existing alongside slavery. And Lincoln's rhetoric really pushed that tension to the breaking point, and really made people start to see America as as defined by those principles, by that principle of equality and of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and kind of see all of our institutions and our processes of American government through that lens.
So we are about to celebrate Abraham Lincoln's birthday and Founders Day, one of the greatest presidents we've ever had. And I think when I think through some of the political presidential campaigns over the last number of decades, whether Democrat or Republican, it seems to me nearly every candidate for president or primary elections speaks about Abraham Lincoln, and they speak about how much they have derived from the study of Lincoln, or how closely they relate to Lincoln's thinking in so many areas. That's a great point of approval. So we're about to embark upon Founders Day. We're going to have a good time there. Rick Stowe, thank you for being with us. I want to thank our guest, Dr. Michael Toomey, Professor of History and Assistant Dean, Randy Matthews, Associate Dean at Duncan School of Law, Dr. John Grove, Assistant Professor of Political Science, and of course Gary Daniels, who's throwing the switches here in front of us. Thank you for coming to American Culture, Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. We'll be with you again next week.
Support for this program is made possible by Lincoln Memorial University in Harrogate, Tennessee. Further information on academics, campus life, educational programs, admissions and financial aid, and much more, www.lmunet.edu. This afternoon's program was produced by Dr. Martin Sellers. Our technical producer is Gary Daniels. Our student production assistant is John Hobbs. Our program director is Clay Stanifer. And our executive producer is Adam Haley. Our theme music is White Horses, as performed by Tierra Negra and Muriel Anderson. American Culture, Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences at LMU will rebroadcast again this Saturday at 10 a.m., Sunday at 8 p.m., and next Tuesday at 7 a.m. This has been a WLMU radio production.